You're listening to the Weekly Frights. Good evening, my frightlings. Salem. A town so guilty it apologized in court records. A town that looked at hysteria, superstition, and bad legal procedures and said, yes, that'll do nicely. You've heard about the trials, the accusations, the hangings, but tonight, we're not here for the headline. We're here for what lingered. Because when you execute innocent people in the name of God and good order, you don't just leave behind graves. You leave behind tenants. So grab your robes, sharpen your conscience, and whatever you do, don't plead innocence. It didn't help the last time. Let's start with the people Salem definitely shouldn't have killed, which historically speaking was all of them. Giles Corey was 81 years old, which in 1692 meant he was already living on borrowed time and someone else's land. Giles refused to enter a plea. Why? Because he knew the rules. If he pled innocent, trial, conviction, execution. If he pled guilty, execution. But if he said nothing, the court couldn't have legally taken his property. So instead, they pressed him. Literally. They placed wood on his chest, and stone by stone, hour by hour. When asked to plead, Giles reportedly said, more weight, which is either the bravest thing ever said in American history or the most sarcastic. After his death, people reported heavy footsteps on land that no one owned, a silent figure standing near property lines, Giles appearing before disasters, fires, sudden deaths, bad harvests. Apparently, even in death, he still refuses to leave his land. Honestly, respect. Next, we have Rebecca Nurse, was 71. She was deeply religious, widely respected, and known for her kindness, which, in Salem, made her suspicious. The jury initially found her not guilty, and then Judge William Stoughton cleared his throat. He told them to try again. Imagine being so evil you say, no. Do it until I like the answer. They returned with a guilty verdict. Rebecca was hanged anyway. Afterwards, neighbors reported singing heard near her former home, a calm figure walking at dusk, sudden illness among those who mocked her execution. Her family later succeeded in clearing her name. Salem admitted it was wrong, which is lovely. She was still dead. John Proctor didn't whisper his objections. He called the trials nonsense. Publicly, he accused the court of hysteria, which is never a great move when the court is allergic to criticism. Proctor was convicted, hanged, and then, because the town was feeling extra righteous, his property was seized before his body was cold. Later reports described arguing voices in empty rooms, heavy boots across the floor, doors slamming during legal disputes. It's almost like injustice leaves fingerprints. Funny how that works. Now let's talk about the real monster. Not the devil, not witches, the judge. Educated, powerful, utterly convinced God agreed with him. William Stoughton believes spectral evidence was valid. That means if someone said, "I dreamed you hurt me," you could be executed, which is less justice system and more nightmare suggestion box. He did all the following: documented, allowed visions as courtroom evidence, rejected jury verdicts he disliked, forced juries to deliberate again until they returned guilty, acting as judge, prosecutor, and moral authority. When Governor Phipps finally shut the court down, Stoughton was furious. Unlike other judges who later expressed regret, Stoughton never repented his actions and even protested with Governor William Phipps, halted executions based on pregnancy exceptions. William believed they were right, even after the colony apologized, even after compensation was paid, even after names were cleared. William never repented, never apologized, never admitted faults, which means, historically speaking, he died thinking he did God's work. That's not closure, that's foreshadowing. And get this, my frightlings, even after William's evil deeds, he remained a powerful public figure, serving as acting governor of province of Massachusetts Bay from 1694 to 1699. William rose from the gallows of Salem to the governor's chair, because nothing haunts history quite like promoting the man who mistook paranoia for policy. His influence persisted until his death on July 7, 1701. After the trials ended, Salem tried to move on. They passed laws, issued statements, held days of fasting, but people reported things they couldn't legislate away. Shadowy figures near execution sites, disembodied voices executing prayers, sudden cold spots in homes tied to accusers, unexplained illness following public celebrations of the trials. Some claim they saw familiar faces, not screaming, not attacking, just watching, as if asking a very simple question: was it worth it? Stoughton's former residence became associated with doors opening without wind, a feeling of judgment, not fear, judgment, a presence describing as cold authority. One account claims people felt compelled to confess things they hadn't planned to say, which is poetic. A judge who never listened, forced to hear everything forever. Salem didn't end with justice. It ended with regrets. The victims were innocent. The trials were unlawful. The system failed. But the ground remembers. The walls remember. And if the stories are true, so do the dead. So be careful what you accuse. Be careful what you believe. And be very careful who you let decide guilt. Because history has a funny way of coming back with interest. Until next time, my frightlings, sweet dreams. And remember, if the court asks you to plead, sometimes silence is the loudest scream of all. If this little walk through Salem kept you company in the dark, go on now, tap that like button. It helps keep these stories from being forgotten. Subscribe to the Weekly Frights if you enjoy true hauntings, documented horrors, and the kind of tales history wish it could bury a little deeper. There's always another story waiting, and I'll be right here when you come back for it. Until next time, my frightlings, sleep tight.